Blade Runner 2049 is directed by Denis Villeneuve. He's the guy that did Sicario, which was badass. He's done The Arrival, which was brilliant, and he did Prisoners, which is amazing, and a few other films. And I pretty much think he's like probably the best director out there at the moment. Yeah, definitely. He's pretty shit hot. This one we have Ryan Gosling as the detective named Kay, and we get Harrison Ford in here again. And we have Jared Leto as Nadia Wallace, who is the dude who's now making the replicants, like what that other dude in the previous one made. And Ryan Gosling's character is out on a mystery, and he needs the help of Harrison Ford's character to solve this mystery. Before I get into this movie, we have to address the original Blade Runner. People love it. It's embedded in movies that you see all the time now. Since it came out, like, you've seen references and ideas that are just copied and put in movies and stuff, because it was so revolutionary in the way it looked. It was stunning, it was beautiful, it was amazing looking film. And I think that is where it stops, because as a movie itself, it was pretty boring, overdrawn, has too many edits. Just goes to show that Ridley Scott is not as good as people think he is. He's really good at building worlds. What he creates is really amazing. You know, it's like all the fine details about how people are in the society, and the visual aspect, and the aesthetic, and the tone, and the look of it, the futuristicness, and it's like still gritty and relatable. But he just doesn't know when to let go. I mean, he's made how many versions of Blade Runner before? I mean, if it's a masterpiece, why is there so many versions? Which one are you talking about? The movie is not that good, and I'm not a fan of what he did with the later cuts about insinuating that Deckard is a replicant. Because if he is a replicant, it makes the whole movie pointless. The whole idea is that Roy is a combat replicant. He shows more humanity than the humans do at the end, because he wants to share his last moments with someone and tell them that he wishes to be human. And if he was telling that to another replicant, then it's like he did it in vain. It's pointless. It's a really stupid decision. But anyways, besides that movie's shit. This movie, on the other hand, is actually pretty damn good. If you look at the quality of the story in Blade Runner and this one, and how it's done visually as well, it's pretty much one of the best sequels ever made. Is it one of the best movies ever made? No, definitely not, but it's really good. I don't want to get into too much details and stuff, but there's a twist, and then there's a twist and a twist, you know, like a twist turn. And the stuff that it touches on is very similar to the first one, of dealing about humanity and being more human than human, or wanting to create something more human than human. And this movie deals with that part of it a lot deeper than the original movie, and I think it did it pretty well. The only issues I had about the storytelling part of it was there were parts where it goes from one thing in the mission to the next thing very quickly, and if you get distracted by someone opening up a chip packet or something next to you and you miss out like one line, you kind of go like, how did they get there? That was the only thing I had about the storytelling. But other than that, it was a pretty decent movie. I mean, you'll have to watch it a few more times, because of that, I was struggling to follow it in certain points. It felt like there were massive plot holes. Now, other than that, the visuals by Roger Deakins are like next level. This is one of the best movies that I've seen visually. I mean, cinematography in this is amazing. The color work is amazing. The tone of it, the direction of the cinematographer is really good. The directing is amazing. I mean, he really brought out the performances out of all the actors. Ryan Gosling's character had a really deep arc that had a really great conclusion, and peaks and valleys, and he was done really well, and he's the person that you attach yourself to the most, and I think that was done really well. And in comparison, Ridley Scott couldn't do that with Harrison Ford in the original, because he sucks. As you can tell, I don't like Ridley Scott. What has he ever done for us? We got to see certain stuff from the previous movie, which I don't think was really that necessary, but certain bits was very necessary in terms of Harrison Ford's character arc. but it was almost sounding like it was just calling back to the original to say like, hey, yeah, we're doing the original, because this movie could definitely stand on its own as its own movie without referencing that other shit one. Now the whole thing about, is Deckard a replicant? In this movie, they don't really answer it. They do to a certain extent, and from what some people have taken from it, you could see it, he either is not a replicant or he is a replicant, just by how the characters in the movie give you hints, like Wallace, Harrison Ford himself, the character Love. They all give little references, and that really bugged me because it was leaning towards that side. Because I'm firm belief that Deckard should not be a replicant. So I was really pissed off when I saw that they were pushing over that line, and my anger was kind of like, it was stabbing me in the heart. Blade Runner 2049 is possibly one of the best sequels ever made. It's deep, it's long, it's visual, it's visceral, it's thought-provoking, and I compare this to Bayhance, where Ridley Scott thinking he is the shit, and then going on Bayhance and seeing someone else's fan art which is way better than his. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I know I kind of bashed onto Ridley Scott, but really, it really bugs me how he could ruin Blade Runner like that. I mean, all those versions, and he could not make a good one, and people still call it a masterpiece. It just doesn't get with me. And how he thinks that Deckard should be a replicant is beyond belief. It makes no sense, and it's something that really bugs me, and I'm passionate about because I wanted to love the first one. But yeah, anyway, so apologize for all the rants. Next week it should be I don't know what next week will be. I don't really care, I've got too much work. Okay, see you next week. Bye.